Greetings, welcome to Tribal Jazzman Scholar. I'm constantly struggling to find a way to express my understanding of human history, because my understanding is grounded in this exploration of numbers and time spans to try to grasp implications of distances of time. Human beings are frequently talking in present world about ways to do things in a more healthy way, holistic way, organic way, natural way, in terms of child rearing and education and all manner of diet and exercise and what's best for the human organism. And very often the answer is, well, it's what's most natural. And you can't have that conversation without examining this organism's history and where we grew up, where we evolved, because everything in nature is in a deeply symbiotic relationship with everything else, and all the evolutionary adaptations are a direct response, and not just a direct response to the natural world that they're in, but also are intimately responsive and connected to what's best for the organism in that context. So we can know a lot about that if we know how long we've spent in an ancestral environment in the Pleistocene, the nomadic hunting and gathering era that we lived in. But we can't appreciate it if we don't conceptualize it in a way that's understandable, tangible. So I keep looking for analogies. Keeping in mind there are these two worlds. There's the hunter-gatherer, nomadic, tribal, small community, wild nature-based, embedded cosmological belief systems that this human who lived in tribes, that's the one side. And then the other side is the human that lives in present world that has known nothing but civilization and centralized economies and agriculture to provide for our food, domesticated animals to provide for our food, isolation largely from ritual and extended family and many of the things embedded in the life of tribal peoples that we can examine in the present world. So there are the two worlds. There's the prehistoric, nomadic, hunter-gatherer world, and then there's the quote-unquote civilized world, post-agricultural world. And most of us know and can describe the latter of the two, but we don't really know much about that other world, and we don't give it a lot of attention because it was so long ago. But if we consider how long that time frame was, the analogy I want to use is, imagine all you can get done in a day. You wake up in the morning and you stretch your body and you kind of gather yourself and you climb out of bed and you maybe have some morning rituals. You splash some water on your face, drink a cup of water, shower, get dressed, use the restroom, whatever it is that you do, and then you feed yourself and maybe you read a little bit, read the newspaper, or have some coffee, get in a car and maybe go to a job, or if it's a day off, maybe you plan what you're going to do. And you have this long period in the morning where usually there's a lot of energy and productivity as you've awakened into your body. And then you have a break and you eat some food and maybe you snack a little here and there, but you have usually a lunchtime. And then you have an afternoon period, and the afternoon wears on into the late day, and then maybe you leave your work environment and you maybe go meet friends, or you go home and have dinner with a family, and then maybe you rest in a chair and do a little reading. And this describes a 12-hour cycle. 12 hours. And a lot can happen in 12 hours, especially if you're having some sort of an adventure on a weekend. You're going hiking and you get up early and you hit the trailhead and you have all sorts of adventures, or whatever it is you might be doing in a 12-hour period. If you imagine all that happens in a 12-hour period, and you make the analogy that, well, it was 12 hours ago that our ancestors discovered the controlled use of fire. And that opened up a lot of doors for us. We'd already been living nomadic, tribal groups for a very long time, but the discovery of fire opened up a new world because we could travel into very cold climates. We could live there, keep ourselves warm, and wearing the furs of animals, we could head out and we could hunt large game and we were able to really, really populate the world once we could control fire. And by controlling it, meaning we could make it. Most common way to do that is to use a fire stick and a hearth and spin the stick and create an ember, and then put that in something that can combust, using our breath to get it hot enough to catch on fire. And so the controlled use of fire by our ancestors, if we were to say that happened 12 hours ago, and all the descriptions I gave of what you might do in a 12-hour day, all the richness and fullness that life might present you with, though I don't know if the example of being in a job and working is going to be that fulfilling a sense for most people. But to embrace the possibility that 12 hours allows for a tremendous amount of experience and growth and insight and reflection and rest and activity, and it's a whole cycle from sun up to sundown. And imagining that sun up moment, when the sun first breaks the horizon, is the moment we discovered fire. Well, at what point in that 12-hour cycle did we enter this other world, this nomadic, leave the nomadic world and enter this other world, the agricultural, sedentary, civilized world? Well, it happened just under 10 minutes ago. So 12 hours of hunting and gathering, nomadic, tribal existence, connected to earth, connected to the wild things of nature, growing, learning, experiencing this world in a wild nature immersion, tribal-based, nomadic way, small extended families, and that agriculture and that separation from wild nature and domestication of animals and cities, civilization, centralized economies, that disconnect happened 10 minutes ago. Sometimes framing it like that helps us to understand the importance of looking at that past, studying that environment, studying people who still live that way to know where we've come from. And with that, Tribal Jazzman Scholar will sign off. Thanks for joining me.